Hi everyone, and thank you for watching my video. In this video, I'm going to talk about our origins, where we come from. I'm going to talk about a lot of different possibilities of our origins, and a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about they're going to be taboo. So I'm going to go into talking about genetics, evolution, religion, aliens, a whole bunch of different uncomfortable stuff like that. But I think if you keep an open mind, I think anyone can learn something from this and walk away from this video with a different perspective. No matter what your belief is, I think you'll walk away better. So I don't make this video just to stir up stuff for no reason. I'm just making the video, as just a piece of, me sharing my path, my journey, and where I'm at now at this point in my journey. So the way I'm going to do the video, I'm going to take you through the history of man, of course, very briefly. And I'm going to talk about man's developments and kind of share with you how, man just suddenly just came out of nowhere, and everything just suddenly changed. It was like magic. And I'm going to kind of challenge what you believe and what you think you already know with some really logical things. So let's get started. Let's get started with the video. So I'll start from the beginning. Now, according to historical information, the first human-like animals, we'll call them man-ape human, for lack of better words. The first ones were believed to be from 12 million years ago, and they were discovered in Africa. And then the next one that they found, it was around 10 million years ago, or maybe it was 13 and 11, something like this, some many millions of years ago, more than 10 million years ago. And there were lots of others found thereafter, but the next ones that were found that actually kind of looked like humans were found or believed to be 2 million years old, and this one is called the Australopithecus. And the next one that resembled a human being even more, that's even younger than Australopithecus, the next one was the Homo erectus, and that was believed to be around 1 million years old. And the next type of human, is getting more human looking. It's the Neanderthal, and Neanderthal, its origins were believed to be around 900,000 years ago. Now, the Neanderthal, it is said to have died out around 40,000 years ago. Like the last Neanderthal was around 40,000 years ago. So, my point of talking about all these different types of man, ape, human species is that the Neanderthal and the Homo erectus 2 million years ago, Neanderthal, Australopithecus 2 million years ago, Homo erectus 1 million years ago, Neanderthal man 900,000 years ago. Through all of that time that they existed, their evolution was very, very slow. For example, the tools that they made, they only evolved just a little bit. So, you mean to tell me 2 million years you didn't make any progress, any advancements? Or if they did make progress and the stuff, just wasn't found. Now, I am aware that, there were many extinction level events that have happened throughout history that wiped away civilizations, clean the earth, and the earth had to start over. I'm very aware of that, and a lot of this stuff we haven't found. And my own personal belief is that through the history of earth, there were likely civilizations way more advanced than what we have now. They got way further, and their time came and they got washed away, and everything had to start back over. But back to the topic. Now, around 35,000 years ago, that's it's about 5,000 years later after the Neanderthal man died out, then that's when you had what you can say what was a real human being. A real human being showed up, and this was Cro-Magnon man. Now, Cro-Magnon man is also known as the caveman, and the difference between Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthal and anything prior to Neanderthal is that Cro-Magnon man was very, very intelligent, and he learned very, very fast. So it's a huge difference between these two types of man. Now, I know it's controversial on whether the Neanderthal man was actually smart. Some people believe the Neanderthal man was very smart, and some people believe that he had a bigger brain, and he was, things like this, and all that stuff is debatable. But what we do know or think we know based on the evidence that's presented to us is that Neanderthal man didn't make much evolution, no matter how smart he was, based on what was found of what he produced and what consisted of his life. So Cro-Magnon man, what was some evidence of to lead us to believe that Cro-Magnon man was intelligent or way far different than the other previous man ape humans? Well, the Cro-Magnon man or the caveman, they traveled in groups, they hunted, they wore clothes, they did art. There's cave paintings. They buried their dead. So if they did that, they made cave paintings, they buried their dead. They likely had language, and they likely talked. They had communicated through speech. So like if they were doing all of these things, they were like way ahead of all of the previous men, prior to them. So, this was, the start of this, or the origin of these remains being found was around 35,000 years ago. They believe that was a start. But fast forward to around 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, this is when human evolution just really became recognizable and what we know as human beings. And what I mean by that is this is when the caveman, Cro-Magnon man, and those men during that time, they no longer hunted and gathered. They no longer ran wild. They no longer just ran free and used their intuition as their guides. For some reason, they all just decided to stay in one place, to do agriculture, to domesticate animals, to stay together and learn from one another, build civilizations, communities. And, of course, when you have this type of comfort, then minds can come together, and you have time just to sit and think. But the Cro-Magnon man was already thinking from the very beginning anyway. But when you bring those minds and consciousnesses together, then the thinking and the development really takes off. But during that time, things were beginning to develop during that time. So if we fast forward, another few thousand years on to like 6,000 years ago, this is around the time of when Sumerian civilization was believed to have started and began to exist and thrive. Now, what's significant about the Sumerian civilization? Again, we're talking about modern human beings. Modern man was believed to have started around 35,000 years ago, after the Neanderthals became extinct. So, around 6,000 years ago, the ancient Sumerians. And what's special about the ancient Sumerians 6,000 years ago was that they provided the first documented information. And documented information, I'm talking text. They had text imprinted in clay, and it's still preserved to this day, that we can use to find out how they lived and learn their ideologies and have a really in-depth view of the lifestyles back then and what they were doing. And based on what the experts found was that when they, after reading these texts and learning about them, these like lots and lots of texts, lots and lots of information, a lot of what they found was that these civilizations were very, very, very advanced. like way more advanced than you would expect a civilization that far back to be. Like they were doing brain surgery. They had written marriages. They had deeds. They had lawyers. They had astronomers, and even like on their text. What's I guess one of the most significant things about like the information in their text is that they had like information of the solar system. They knew stuff that we just found out like over the past 150 years. And right now I'm talking about the last 3 planets of the solar system. Now, the last 3 planets of the solar system, we only learned about those the past 150 years, but they knew about these planets back then, like 6,000 years ago, based on their text. They knew about the planets. They knew the colors of the planets. They knew all the stuff that you would need advanced technology to know and find out. And that just leads you down a bunch of more pathways and rabbit holes once you see that they had, that ability and that knowledge. And so much more. There was a lot of, and like when you start finding evidence like this, there was lots more that I can't think of right now. But when you start finding evidence like this, it makes all the rest of it. Makes you look at it twice. Take a second look at it and really try to think it through and see, does this really make sense? So another big part of their information through the text was that they also had spirituality, and their spirituality wasn't like the spirituality of the day. Their spirituality was likely the root of the spirituality that we have today, and a lot of it has been carried over into other spiritualities, and those spiritualities, those religions claim it for their own, which I'll talk about in a moment. One particular one. But anyway, my whole point is like during this time, there was a sudden growth of intelligence and cooperation, and things just became way different suddenly. So keep in mind, like we just talked about, like millions of years of evolution. Nothing happened. Very small, minimal amounts of evolution. But suddenly, 35,000 years ago, and especially 10,000 years ago, human civilizations, or human beings was around this time. Human beings suddenly just got really, really, really intelligent. They just became thinking just brains, just pure brains. No, not like the other ones, which their life was based on instinct. The human beings' lives during that time became based solely on like thinking and consciousness and self-awareness and stuff like this. So at that point, that was like the biggest, like the big change. Like how did they make this change in such a short amount of time when the others couldn't do it over millions and millions of years? And then this opens up gates to other like beliefs and possibilities of what happened. And then you come to the point where everyone starts to make their own theories about what happened, and even piece together stories, and kind of play detective and try to put things together and make a logical theory, a story of what happened. And right now I'm going to talk about a few of those, and a lot of them some of them are very convincing, and besides that, they're all we have at this point. So we have to take what we have and really just analyze it and just look through it until we've overturned every stone and looked under every rock and searched everywhere. And we have to use what we have until we have more. But one theory, and this is kind of French actually. It comes from one of my mentors, a mentor for fitness, not fitness, but like health and that type of thing. Dr. Jack Kruse. And I read one of his blog series called Cold Thermogenesis. And according to what I learned through Cold Thermogenesis blog is that, well, not what I learned, but what his belief, his theory is that the way human beings made this sudden dramatic jump in evolution of the mind, he believes it was through epigenetics, like outside environment speeding up the genetics of the body. So like, during that time, there were lots of ice ages. And of course, ice ages are extinction level events. If you don't think of something real fast, you don't make some type of adaptation really fast, you're gonna die. And a lot of people likely did die, and probably the best of the best survived. And according to him, it also speeds up genetics. When the epigenetics, the genetic factors of the environment suddenly speed up, then it speeds up the human being. And this is kind of one of the logic that I follow when I take my ice baths. I take ice baths every few days to evolve my genetics. It's one of my reasons for doing it. And so he believes that's the case. The environment speeded up the genetics, but that's real tough to believe, because that was a really, really, really fast forward button if it did. So like it's still, a lot doesn't add up, and I can't say I don't understand it enough to agree, but decent theory. I definitely believe it does speed up genetics, but not to that degree. Or maybe I'm not understanding him exactly right. The dude is brilliant. So the next common belief, and a lot of people follow it today, is about like following the Bible, or following like an almighty God, the belief of an almighty God, and creating everything as it is now. And as you know, that has lots of holes in it when you look at it from you look at it purely literally. For example, the world not starting 2,000 years ago. But the Bible, I'm pretty sure it's meant to be interpreted in other ways, not just purely literally. Pretty sure it means a lot of other things. And also, a lot of the stuff from the Bible is from the Sumerian text. A lot of it is like straight carried over from the Sumerian text. And the reason why that's believed is because the Sumerian text was first, and the Bible has the same information. So it probably came from the Sumerian text. And also the Sumerian language vanished off around the same time when Christianity began. And with that, that's the opportune time to take someone's information and distort it and change it and keep it as your own, by translating into another language. And then it could easily get lost in translation. And speaking of getting lost in translation, so let's talk about the Bible for a minute. Now, the Bible, 2,000 years old, 2,000 years ago, and a lot of information in it has no doubt been altered. And it's been altered through leadership, altering things, because the best way to control people is to just say, God said it. It's a very easy way to control people. Say God said it. So, if you want to do that, just boom, with the stroke of a pen or a print press or whatever you use, change the word, alter the story, and make it to your liking, and then the people are going to be more docile and easier to rule. Now, I'm not saying that all the Bible is like wrong and off, but definitely some things are definitely off and not what they appear to be. Now, another part of like losing information in regards to the Bible is being lost in translation. The Bible has no doubt been translated through to various languages, and when you translate something, you lose meaning. You don't keep the same meaning. You lose meaning, and even in one language, one word can mean multiple things. So if you translate, let's say, one word can have a literal meaning, and it can have a figurative meaning and other meanings. So when you translate it to another language, then all of those possibilities double. And then you go to another language, then it triples. And, you can easily just get lost in words. And then someone later on in the future just said, oh, this meant this. And, this is what I think. And then they just, boom, change it again, or just convert it again to something else. And over 2,000 years, this everything could easily just completely get distorted into something unrecognizable. Then have everyone just saying, oh, I think it means this, and just kind of creating their own version. And so that's and another biggie, which is part of the premise of how, like, I even decided to make this video anyway, is that in the Bible, one change that was made, and I learned this information from Billy Carson. According to Billy Carson, the word God in the Bible, it used to be gods. So the Bible probably comes from the Sumerian civilization, and was just passed down, because a lot of information was passed down. And when you start talking about gods, you start getting to the domain and the realm of mythic gods, and those mythic stories that talk about the solar system and the happenings in the solar system, and it's made to turn into stories to preserve some type of concept. But the word gods turn into God in the Bible, according to Billy Carson. So, like, kind of got lost in my thought for a moment. But so yeah, that's the Bible. And more about the whole reason why I brought that up about gods is, you go into the other possibility, the third possibility that I'm going to share with you, to talk about at the moment, is the possibility, and this is the crazy part, or if you take it to be crazy, the possibility of extraterrestrials or entities from another planet. And it's believed that those gods, those possibly were the gods. Them coming down to here and visiting, them being the gods, or being who was referred to as the gods. And so when you talk about extraterrestrials, and one of the main foundations of like this knowledge, and what I think got everyone really aware and thinking about this type of thing, is the story by the book by Zecharia Stichen, The 12th Planet, and the story, the legend of Nibiru being our legendary 10th planet, or 12th planet if you count the sun and the moon. And according to that story, aliens or extraterrestrials from the 10th planet came here to Earth to visit because they needed some resources or some minerals to fix their own planet. And the aliens, they did work, they excavated and they mined the minerals, and they end up rebelling because the work was too great. And they end up deciding, the leadership end up deciding to genetically modify human beings and make them and turn them into slaves. So that's the story with that. Now, when you start talking about extraterrestrials and this type of thing, a couple of thoughts came to my mind, because a couple of concepts that I'm aware of began to become challenged, and it really put me into my thoughts. And one of them is like the possibility of space travel and inhabiting another planet. At this point in my journey, I don't see how that's possible. And I don't think it's possible, based on my understanding of like us being able to go from this planet into another planet and like survive and interact with some beings on another planet. And part of my reasoning for that is that the whole physics of it all, not even just regular physics, but also the metaphysics of it all. And I'm talking about, like, for example, astrology. Now, there's metaphysical laws to the universe, and the metaphysical laws are just as real as the physical laws. And some people doubt astrology, but if you have a deep knowledge of the interworking of how astrology works and its respective parts and how they work together, then and you're able to compare real life and make the comparisons, you stop becoming a skeptic. Usually people who don't believe this are people that don't have the understanding of it. If you have just even a basic understanding, you're able to make those comparisons. This is really difficult to be a skeptic. But like my whole point in saying that is that when you start thinking about the metaphysics of like going to another planet and interacting, it becomes kind of like how like it seems unfathomable, because if you think about how astrology works, each planet has its own power, its own energy, and it affects us every day in our everyday lives here. You know, despite the planets being very far away from us, but based on how close they get to us and their orientation to other planets, they affect our lives here. They don't make us do what we do, but they affect us and they affect our moods, and they impel us to do some of the things that we do. So we have our free will, but they're also that electromagnetic energy is coming from those planets, and it's affecting us and it's urging us to do certain things. Now, also, like when you think in terms of that, it also governs, those planets also govern like physical things on Earth. For example, the constitution of the body. Like certain planets rule certain minerals and different things that constitute the body. So if you were to basically, theoretically, when you think in terms of you thinking in terms of astrology and using that, if you were to go to another planet, your whole constitution would change, your whole mind state will change. All of it would be centered on that planet. Now, would it destroy you? Of course, I don't know, but it would definitely change you in a really profound way, and it would change you in a way where that no one is addressing or talking about or just ignoring. But if you also, along those lines, if you think about the planet Nibiru being part of our planetary system, each planet has its own type of, power, energy, electromagnetic energy. And I'll kind of go through them real quick. Mercury has like a thought and communicative information type of energy. Venus is a cooperative energy, harmonic energy. Mars is a energetic, wheel-provoking energy. Jupiter is a big faith, expanding, big believing type of energy. Saturn is the energy of limitation, understanding the limits, karma, understanding hard work, the value of hard work, etc. Uranus is abrupt changes, things dramatically being shaken up. Neptune is like pure human nature without any of the constructs. It teaches you how to be a true human without any of the made up constructs. Pluto is about transformation and you could even say evolution. Also karma. So Pluto, those big lessons. So then you would get to the planet Nibiru. The planet Nibiru. Nibiru would be considered the 10th planet if Nibiru exists in the way that we believe it to exist. So what type of energy does Nibiru possess? Now, I'm pretty sure the energy that Nibiru possesses is nothing like the energy of our other planets, and it has a profound effect on us here on Earth in our lives. And then, of course, it's an outer planet. When outer planets move and change their orientation, they completely change everything. And like Pluto is just at the last planet, and it changes everything. And I'm pretty sure Nibiru would be just as profound. And Nibiru's orbit is 3,600 year orbit. 3,600 year orbit. And so one cycle for Nibiru is 3,600 years. So every 3,600 years, there's likely like a huge change here on Earth. And just going out on a limb here in deep speculation, a Nibiru completion could, you know, make something like us, something like a sudden, like you go from just a pure animal driven on instincts to an animal that is just inside of his mind and self-aware and just really mentally focused. Then you go from, I think you can go from a big change like that. And I think whether it be a human being or something else, could be maybe next time, you know, it could be an ocean animal. They could go through some big metamorphosis like that in their mental evolution and make sudden changes. But you know, just a thought. So kind of went all over the place with that. But the whole point of me making this video is just to address and talk about like how we have no idea where we came from and even where we're going. And, you know, we're kind of the stuff that we believe and that we're following it. Like if you really just like look at it and break it down for truth, you know, it can't really, a lot of it can't really stand on its own. You have to really just go into the details to try to make a coherent story. And even some of the best people now that are making coherent stories, really intelligent coherent stories that no one else could make, they sound ridiculous. But, you know, just like if you talk to someone that's extremely intelligent, you can only understand them up to your level of understanding. So, you know, who's to say that those people are wrong? So that's my video on another video of Origins of Man. And I think in my next video in this particular part of the series, I'm going to go into talking about the actual possibility of an alien coming here and interacting with us, and you know, explore those possibilities. And I'll keep it within the frame of my own belief system. I'll try my best not to go too far into fantasy land and speculation and, you know, that type of thing, because we got to keep it grounded, right? Got to keep it grounded. And I hope that you keep me grounded also. So thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. You have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day. And if you haven't, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can get all the notifications for my videos. That is, if you enjoy watching my videos and you want to be notified. And, you know, it helps me with the algorithm. So thank you so much. Again, I'm out. I appreciate you all. I'm gone.